Hi everyone, my name is Shin Musai, and today we are going to learn on how to make graphs using Microsoft Word because the University of the West Indies has taken a decision to have all exams as take-home exams, and so students would have to submit their work using Microsoft Word or some sort of PDF. And so let's design the Edgewood box. So suppose there are two people, Smith and James, just for example, and there are two goods. We'll just call it good X and good Y. On the top menu here, you're going to select insert, and from insert, you're going to select shapes. And under shapes, you're going to go in the first one in lines and select the first line. You're just going to draw your line, however big you want the box. I would select black from here, where I can also select the color in the shape outline. I can select black. And also, I want the line to be thicker because I find that it's too thin. So I will select probably 1 point. You could just select this line since it's selected already. So I click on it and I selected it. I'm going to press Ctrl C, so it's copied. Ctrl C is the copy, and then Ctrl V means to paste. So I pasted an identical replica of that line, and I'm going to put it on this side to represent the next side of the Edgewood box. Again, I'm going to Ctrl C, copy the next version of the same identical line, and I select the top part and I'm rotating it to the right to create the base. Move this line to meet this line here, and I will extend it a bit. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, right? And this one I'm going to rotate it this way, but I'm also going to take it and put it as the top. Also, if you want small micro adjustments, you can use the up, down, left, right arrow keys, so you get smaller adjustments. Extend it out a little bit. And I want to extend this one out up a little bit. So far we have our outside box. I'll go and insert shapes, and I'm looking for this arc. So the arc is under basic shapes, so that will give you a nice curve, which is ideally what you want to represent in different curves. I'm going to go back on insert a text box, a simple text box, delete what's in the box, and I'm going to name this person on the right hand side James. You want to make this text box as small as possible so it doesn't come in the way, and then you're going to select no outline for this box, and you're going to move this box to the right hand side. Also you're going to change this layout here to go to in front of text. By selecting this, you can now put it anywhere in the document, and it doesn't have to be in a specific line. So you can move up right there, and instead of going and select text box and do all that again, I'm just going to press Ctrl C and Ctrl V. So I created an identical copy, and this is going to be for Smith. I'm just assuming this guy name here is Smith. In fact, you know what, let's be a little more fun. Let's name him Shane. Who's Sham? No, Shane. Right, so we have Shane and we have James. Right, back to my indifferent curve graph. I think this graph should be a little thicker because you want to see it. Right, I find it's very thin, so I will also put this as 1 point. And I'm going to press Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So I create an identical copy, and then I could move that somewhere here, then Ctrl C, Ctrl V again, create the next copy, put that somewhere here, Ctrl C, Ctrl V again, create the next copy, put that somewhere here. Now ideally, these graphs, if you angle it bad, it could look like this. And so if you have it kind of angled in a bad way, you would see that eventually it would intersect. So you have to try as much as possible so that it looks parallel to each other, essentially. You see how this curve is a little off to this curve, so I need to rotate this so it looks parallel to this next curve. Create some for Shane. Let's press Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So we have these now, but let's rotate it 180 degrees this way. So now it represents the indifferent curves for Shane. We need to shift this to be tangential to this next indifferent curve. And just to highlight the difference between James indifferent curve and Shane one, we're going to change the color. So shape format, change it to red. Beautiful. I love it. I think it should go down a little bit. Yeah. Now Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. So I create another one right here. Actually, you know what? Put you right here. Put you right here. Now I actually don't think I need all of these. I think I put too much. We only need really 3. I mean, you can put more, but it's not necessary. Remember, you can use these small arrow keys on your keyboard to make fine adjustments. I want to make these a little longer, so I can just extend it out, and I can extend this one out as well. Just like I could angle it back more towards the middle. But there's also some other things that we should show. If you're dealing with a difference curve, we need to show our axes. So let's put a line this way, because good y would be increasing this way for Shane. Insert arrow, and you're gonna just draw an X arrow to represent good X. Instead of selecting insert new text box, I can select J, Control C, Control V. So you copy that and change this to quantity of good X. Extend it out. It says is that for Shane, his quantity of good X increases this way and his quantity of good Y increases this way. For James, his quantity of good X increases this way and his quantity of good Y increases coming down this way. Now we need to add the origin, so let's copy this text box again. Control C, Control V. The origin should be just a number 0. But you want to make this text box as small as possible. But where the whole 0 still shows. That way, it doesn't interfere with the lines as it's interfering with here. But if it does, so you want this to be as close as possible to your graph to represent the origin, right? But if it does kind of overlap these lines and create this space that you're seeing here, you just select back the line and select bring to the front, and the line will overlap that. So you select this line now and go bring to the front, and so it avoids that problem. Now that we have this 0 here, we do the same thing for the origin on the other side. So now it's blocking off piece of Shane name, so I'm going to select Shane and select bring to the front. Now where did my 0 go? Oh, I think Shane needs to go back out a little bit. Go back on the 0 and go to bring to the front. We need to label these in different curves on the inside. So I will just copy this same box, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to put it right by this one. So these are for James. And so I can either put IC for indifferent curve, or we can use U to represent the utility graph, which is essentially what an indifferent curve is. U with a subscript. Since this is the third one coming out, we'll use a subscript of 3, and we'll use a superscript of J to represent J's and different curves. So this is U3J. Now that we have this, again, you want to make it as small as possible. Apparently this is small as it could be. We want to bring it close to the graph, but this is what happens. It blocks off piece of our indifference curve. So now we're going to select back the indifference curve and select bring to the front. And now we realize I put the shape a little bad. So I need to use my arrow key and angle it in a position where it doesn't overlap the curve, but essentially shows that this is the curve we're talking about and no other curve. Right, so it looks perfect right there. We know that blue curve is the utility curve for James, but it's the third one out. Now that we have this, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. So I make 2 more copies for the other 2. So you have to draw some points in, and to do that, you're going to go and insert shapes, and I'll just select a small circle. And in this small circle, make it a small nice little dot. You want the color to be black, so select this black option here. And in the intersection. When you have it there, Control C, Control V, because I want to put a copy right in this intersection. When I have it there, Control C, Control V, I want to put a next copy in this intersection. And then Control C, Control V, I want to put a next copy in this intersection, because just maybe I might want to explain this. And so you could use your small arrow keys to make any fine adjustments, because this one he looking a little off, so you have to go more to the right and up. Let's see. Yeah, he perfect there. He need to go down and right a little bit, down and right. He perfect there, and he need to make one more down and right, down and left. Sorry, right. He perfect. So now they're all perfect. We need to label them now. Control C, Control V. I'm going to put this right here. Delete this and just put, we could call it anything, B if you want to. Let's just call it A. A, make the curve a little smaller, and then the most important thing, send it to the back so it doesn't overlap the other things. Once you're done with that, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control V. You see, I forgot one. So Control C, Control V. We have our Pareto efficient points A, B, and D, and then we have point C. I think this is everything that you could include in this graph. If you want, you could also go even further. Depend on the question. If the question asks you to show a specific quantity, so if there was numbers involved, then you can select a line and go from point B and bring it down, and you can change this to the dotted lines, probably change the color to black, or do that over, change this to dotted lines, and then you can create Control C, Control C, Control V, so you create a copy. From here you're gonna rotate this one to this side. Right, so what this dotted line could do, it would show you the quantity of good X and the quantity of good Y needed for Shane, and the remainder would be for James. Right, that is a point B, so you could extend this line this way and extend this line this way as well. So in fact I should probably do that. Now this line is not needed, it's just extra in case the question asks. You don't know what question you're gonna face with, but I'm just showing you in case. You could draw dotted lines like this over your indifference curve to represent some, if you need to represent some specific value of b. So this could be 42 or whatever number, and you could insert that by just copying and pasting another text box and pasting it right over here. So you could do all these things. I will just delete this for the while. The simple attribute box. This is the attribute box. Now the next graph that we're going to draw. Now, since I drew this graph, I don't need to show you how to draw a graph or a simple isoquant graph or any indifferent curves graph. You know how to draw all of that from this one attribute box. So the next graph I will do is be a simple supply and demand graph. So insert shapes. Again, we go back to our line. Line coming down. I wanted the line to be black and a little thicker than that, so I put 1 point. Now that I did all that adjustment for that, I just press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, rotate the line 180 degrees till I get my quantity axis. Adjust the line so that it touch here. Insert a text box. Simple text box, delete the words, write price. You want to make this as small as possible just to fit the word. No outlines, and you could put this up here. Actually a little more to the side. Obviously you want to send this text box to the back so it doesn't interfere with your line. Now that you have that, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and put this one right under here. Quantity of good X. So suppose you have some good X, right? Also I want another text box. So instead of going and select insert new text box, I just Ctrl C, Ctrl V, copy and paste this one. For the origin. But for the origin, it will just be a 0. I would want to make it smaller than normal. Put it closer to here. Perfect. So we have our origin, we have price, we have quantity. Time to draw a supply and demand graph. So for our demand, we know it's a downward sloping graph. You might want to change the thickness to 1 point. Control C, Control V for this text box, so copy and paste. Yeah, and you change this 0 to D for demand. It seems to be cutting up a piece of the graph, so you just select the text box and you select send to the back so it doesn't overlap the graph. Now that you did that, you want to insert a next one. So insert shapes, line. You want to insert the next one for supply. Now if you have the exact values where these demand curve and supply curve intersect your axes, you can extend these lines to intersect the axes. I don't have the exact shape, so I just not having it intersect because I don't even know the equation that we are working with. But essentially, if you had the equation, you can extend this so that it cuts the price axis at whichever point. So I would change this to 1 point, change the thickness to 1 point, and I'll copy this text box, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, bring, oh no, I almost moved my whole quantity axis. Right, and this is your supply. And obviously you need to send it to the back. Perfect. So we have the supply, we have the demand. That's a supply and demand graph. What else you might want to put? You might want to put some lines. Again, you turn it black, and you would put some dotted lines. I think this is up to then. Right. Then I would copy and paste this, rotate it 180 degrees. Sorry, rotate it 90 degrees. Control C, Control D, paste this D to here, and change this D to Q, probably Q star, since it's the equilibrium. And if you can't see the star, you just may need to extend it a little bit, and you can adjust it to be exactly below the line. And when you're done, obviously send to the back. Control C, Control V. I have this here, change this Q to P, and I would send to the back. Right, so we have a P star, Q star. Let's put just to highlight the point where they intersect. We would use the same circle, draw a small little circle, change it to black from up here, and you're going to put that circle in the middle. Hey, it seems on point a little bit. Next thing, what if you want to show consumer surplus or producer surplus from this supply and demand graph? Well, we can insert triangles. So insert shape and insert triangle. You just start here, and you go from one end to this end. I think my point was a little bit off. Okay, I mean this line was drawn badly. Okay, perfect. Right. You bring this here, and you basically adjust your triangle to suit the shape. Alright, so as you can see, I would need to extend this line a little more outwards because this triangle is bigger than I expected. You might want to change the fill to a very gradient fill, and you can insert a text box. Alright, consumer surplus. Adjust that text box, put that text box inside here, perfectly there, and you're gonna fill it as well, most likely with a color so that it matches or blends in nice with the background. Oh, also get rid of these lines around the box because it confuses the person. So shape outline, no outline. Right, so that's your consumer surplus there. Insert shape triangle. So you draw a triangle and essentially you rotate it extend it out this way, extend this way, and bring this down. Shape fill, so this should be a different color. I would just copy and paste your consumer surplus, Control C, Control V, bring it down to producer surplus, and I will change the name from consumer to producer. Producer surplus, and you want to change the color to match the one of producer surplus. So let's give it a nice, beautiful matching color. Right, so we have our producer surplus, consumer surplus. supply demand. If you want to show a supply shift, what happens if supply shift? Control C, Control V. So you copy and paste your supply curve, you adjust it, you change this new color, possibly to red. Obviously, you need to control, you need to copy and paste this as well. And this one will be S prime. S to S prime, you can insert shapes and put some small arrows, so it's essentially showing that. And you usually want to put 2 because that way it shows that's a parallel shift and that's a pivot. So I just showed you all the basic essentials you would need to draw your supply and demand graphs, your consumer surplus graphs, basically how to use shapes to create graphs. With the combination of these straight line graphs and these curved graphs, so for utility, isoquants, or any other curved graph here, or on this line, this graph shows any other straight line graph, you could manipulate what you learned here to create any graph in microeconomics. Sometimes if you find the graph is perfect, and while you're typing X, Y, Z and a bunch of things, maybe you might be afraid that your graph might mess up, and that's possible. So what I would do if my graph is perfect and it looks good, what you can do, you can copy and paste, you can copy the entire graph and paste it as an image. So that way you don't damage the graph. So I'm just going to press Ctrl A, copy all, and paste as an image. Perfect. So now I have these 2 graphs that paste as an image. I think it shows as one big image, so I can just crop it. If I want the top graph alone, or the underneath graph, I can just crop out the top one. Also, so this way, if I'm typing, it doesn't affect the graph shape in any way, you know, because all these weird things has happened. So you prevent that from happening by pasting it as an image. Alright, so now it cannot be messed up in any way. Alright, you can select send through text, and that way you can put it any way you want. You can adjust it and put it any way you want. Okay, and that's the end of our little video tutorial on how to make graphs using Microsoft Word. Now I specifically choose the Edward box because there's a lot of curves in it, so you can make any curved graph now using these shapes. And I specifically choose the supply and demand because it involves triangles, lines, dotted lines to show different points. So you have a good combination of curved graphs and straight line graphs. So you could combine these 2 and make any graph. Also, if you have the equation for the demand and supply graph, remember to put the values where it intersect. So for example, this demand might cut here at, say, some point 53, some price of 53. The equilibrium price might be 24. Supply might cut at some price of $1, meaning at $1 the quantity supplied would be 0. So nobody will be willing to supply any good if the price is $1. So if you have the equations, you can enter the points where it cuts the origin. But if you don't, and it's just a general explanation, then this would work. So depending on the question, you would know how to adjust these graphs accordingly. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.